Good morning and welcome to the Gospel of this morning. We are in the letter to the Galatians and we are coming to the 21st part, the second part actually of the 21st part. We want to read from chapter 6 verses 9 and 10 and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith. Well, Paul starts with the words, let us not be weary in well-doing. Here Paul adds something to the contrast between sowing to the Spirit and sowing to the lusts of the flesh, namely sowing in this life to do good. Our training ground is to do good without expecting anything back. We have such a calculating mind that right at the back of it we hope to receive some measure of good in return. Well, let's not be weary indicates that we ought to continually seek to do good. In other words, to build it up as a character trend. One of the first lessons we find in the verses of Matthew chapter 6 and verse 3. And when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth, that thine alms may be in secret, and thy Father which sees in secret himself shall reward thee openly. Now this would lead us to the next heading. And there it says, in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Everything in its own time. We are normally impatient, and our long suffering has limits. We could even call it short suffering for most of us. This is our next lesson. Some things are reserved for the next life, and we have to deal with it. Some things are for this life, but displayed for another season. To mind comes the prophet Daniel, when God gave him revelation and then adds, seal it up, for it is for the time at the end. Often the Lord reveals the reward and then adds, it is not for now, but patiently endure until the appointed time. This goes for the second part of the heading, which reads, if we faint not. We can call it stickability. Hold on to the promises of God as if you were glued to it. We too often give up too early and miss out on what would have been at the end. The night is always the coldest just before the sun rises. And so it is often with receiving the reward. Just when we think that we cannot hold out any longer, then hold on tight. For the sun is going to rise any moment. No. And then Paul goes on and he says, as we have therefore opportunity. Opportunities need to be recognized. I have a painting for this, which is called the window of opportunity. Well, it shows the masses that walk past with their heads hanging down, eyes cast down to the ground, but there is one among them who looks up and sees that there is a window with a light behind it. All the other windows are in darkness. The people who have their eyes on the things above, they will see the opportunity and take hold of it. And I want to read something from the letter to the Colossians, chapter 3 verses 1 and 2. If you be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ sitteth on the right hand of God. Set your affections on things above, not on things on earth. And then verse 4 it says, when Christ, who is our life, shall appear, then shall you also appear with him in glory. Christ appears from above, and our opportunity also with our feet on the ground. It is like flying a kite. The kite is above, but there's a string that connects us, and our feet are like lead to the ground. And here I have another painting for that. And then Paul goes on, it says, let us do good unto all men. And here Luke 6, from verse 32 onwards, explains it. For if we love those who love you, what think have you? For sinners also love those who love them. And if you do good to them which do good to you, what thank have you? For sinners also do even the same. But love your enemies, and do good, and lend, hoping for nothing again, and your reward shall be great. And you shall be the children of the highest, for he is kind unto the unthankful and to the evil. These are the words of Jesus. This is why people get saved, because we do good to a sinner and love him, as the Lord does it. We do it also being wise and discerning the need, not throwing good money to the undeserved. But sometimes we need to approach someone with the gospel. And then Paul sets out a priority with these words, especially unto them which are of the household of faith. The early church was made up mostly from the lower income group, although Jesus had followers like Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea, and probably some others of substance as well. These men were of stature and wealth. Most of the members in general, his followers, they were not well off. They had a good sense of welfare towards one another, though, and also looked after the widows. Right at the outset in the book of Acts, we see this demonstrated. There was a tight-knit, true brotherhood, and they looked after each other. And it went beyond 2 hours on Sunday morning. Now we want to read it from Acts chapter 2, from verse 42 onwards. And they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, and breaking of bread and in prayer, and many wonders and signs were done. And fear came upon every soul. And many wonders and signs were done by the apostles. And all that believed were together and had all things common, and sold their possessions and goods, and parted them to all men, as every man had need. Now, at present we seem to have more than enough in our Western society, and have little concern about the next man's need. We presume that all is well. Yet this is far from the truth. How much worse it must get until we realize that people are hungry is anyone's guess. In countries like Germany, Switzerland, and Holland, people are already looking for food in dustbins. Yes. Live in a cold place because there is no money to pay for heating. And then we come to verse 11, chapter 6 of Galatians. You see how large a letter I have written unto you with mine own hand. Well, you see how large a letter I have written, he says. They did not have a computer with a keyboard and apps to correct the writing. Not even a typewriter, nor a printer to print it all out. There was no ballpoint pen or paper the way we have it today. It was an enormous effort to write these epistles by hand. The letter to the Galatians has 6 chapters and is one of the smaller epistles. If we compare it with Romans or the First Corinthian letter, where we have 16 chapters. I can feel with Paul when I write myself a documentary or a commentary of 200 plus pages. It is a tremendous effort. Yet we draw many lessons from it, and we know that if we stick to our calling, there will be a reward or a harvest someday. Someone may be enriched. To some, questions could be answered. Others may even get saved through our efforts. It may not immediately be seen, but the Lord will keep account on everything that we do. And then he says, with mine own hands. Most of the letters that are attributed to Paul have been written by a scribe, or the apostles has dictated. Often there is an appendix or greetings written with his own hand. Now Galatians he wrote by himself. We do not know why. It could be because there was nobody available to act as a scribe, or Paul was in a hurry and could not wait for the scribe to arrive. Some of the commentators suggest that Paul's eyesight wasn't good, and therefore he wrote in big letters or used scribes. For us, it makes little difference who held the pen. We are grateful to have the letters as Holy Script and inspiration. Well, this far for today, and the next time we will conclude the letter. God bless you. Amen.